Welcome to AMASB Podcast Episode 9. My name is Betty Quadrant. I'm the Vice President of Volunteers and Records at AMASB. And today we have our featured guest, Chris Levine. Hi, Chris.
Hey, how's it going?
Doing good, thank you. And thanks so much for being here so we can talk to you about your awesome marketing experience.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so Chris Levine is an actor featured in films such as Anabolic Life, Bad Bones, The Handler, and is also a producer and screenwriter. In addition to Chris's work on the big screen, he is also an entrepreneur as the owner of his own clothing line and children's book titled Danny the Dino Explorer. Amongst his many accolades, Chris began his career in the marketing industry, earning the title of marketing director. As marketers, we have many things to learn from this jack of all trades. So I'm looking forward to chatting with you today, Chris, and learning the ins and outs of being a marketer from your perspective.
Wow, that was a lot. Thank you for that. That was a great intro.
So tell me about developing your professional profile across social media as an actor to market yourself.
Well, I think as an actor, it's a fine line between being an influencer as well. And I really don't want to come across as an influencer. So I show myself a little bit, but not in the sense where they know exactly who I am and what I'm about at all times. So whether I'm injecting steroids in the movie Anabolic Life and I'm like 220 pounds of muscle, or kicking ass in The Handler, I want them to always be like, who is Chris really? But I also want to come across as very professional. I never want to share any images on set behind the scenes from a film that makes me look like I'm at an amateur level. So I'm very picky. I don't post a lot, maybe once a week, twice a week. And also at the same time, I want to make it look like I'm always working. Even the years where I wasn't working, I wanted to always make sure that people thought I was doing big things.
So it's sort of a practice of establishing your brand identity. So people, kind of identify you as an actor and associate you with what you do.
100%.
Yeah. And tell me about your amazing portfolio, because as soon as I saw your portfolio online, onlychrislevine.com, I was like, okay, this guy's a marketer because he definitely knows how to market himself. Otherwise, someone else is doing this for him.
Yeah, it saves me a lot of money being able to do it myself. And websites for actors and stuff, it's kind of interesting whether it matters or not anymore, because nobody ever asks what your website is. They ask you how many followers you have on Instagram and things like that when it matters. But I wanted to at least have a landing zone where I can combine everything that I've done, even stuff that I don't have videos for. At least I can showcase pictures all together. And yeah, so the website is kind of just a summary of the best moments I've had in my career, with some cool video clips, some great pictures through, different photographers that I've hired over the years. And yeah, I think thank you for saying that. I think it does come across as like, this dude knows how to market and sell himself pretty well.
Yeah, absolutely. So you talked about marketing in film and marketing yourself. So what are the fundamentals of marketing in film production?
Yeah, I think it starts with imitation. And that's in any art really, is imitating what's working at the moment. And I think we as consumers, prosumers as well, we're very like, trends for us is what works. So I'll see what people with $100 million marketing budgets are doing for the new Marvel movie and what they're creating on social media and digital marketing platforms. And what I would do is just try to copy that as best as I can without breaking the bank. So that's kind of how I've always started film marketing over the last 9, maybe 8 years now, is seeing what either similar movies with more budget or just studio driven films, Marvel, Disney, things like that, the way their style, because they have so much money to force it down our throats that us as consumers, like I was saying, we're so used to that as the norm. So I try to imitate as best as possible for that.
That's awesome. So how do you think traditional marketing is used today? Because we did talk a lot about social and online.
Yeah. Traditional, right? Like, God, I don't even know. Like, traditional, it's so dead, I think. But when you have like my level of budgets for marketing, I would never even tried traditional. Printing and ad space and stuff like that, billboard space. it's too broad of a demographic too in order to like, specify the money spent on it. At least with digital marketing, right? I can see exactly how many people impressed it, how many people clicked it. Like it's pretty cool. Um, but so traditional marketing, I mean, I still like the idea of billboards. If there's something kind of like baller about it, right? Like whether it works or not, it's about, like you said, brand image, brand identity, forcing that, like, whether they even see it or not, they passed it, that kind of thing. That's big budget stuff, though, is creating that. Um, yeah, so traditional marketing, billboards, things like that. I mean, we don't get anything in the mail anymore in general. So yeah, what are the traditional marketing things have you seen for film in the past maybe 6 months? Have you seen anything like what anything popped out to you? Or like, oh, that's interesting. Traditional marketing. Nobody does that anymore.
Yeah, so I think probably just posters and,
Hmm.
it's more so posters that you see, like, in the theaters if you go to it, and otherwise, it's just, like, the artwork that I see during commercials or things
Yeah,
that are posted to social, which is the opposite idea of traditional.
exactly, exactly. Yeah, I guess you could say commercials, right? Paying commercial space. And that's really into, I think what the best commercial space is now is something like YouTube, because every YouTube video is advertising. Um, so you could really reach your target demographic that way as well. But yeah, I think traditional is kind of dead unless you got big pockets.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like, speaking of traditional not being a thing anymore, how do you see digital marketing evolving over time based on the current landscape?
Yeah, 100%. Just like as we were saying earlier, that the ability to see exactly what you paid for, like target demographic, did it reach it? How many clicks? How many impressions? Like that's, I mean, 10 years ago, we never had that. So to have that now, our marketing dollars are spent so much more wisely than ever. So yeah, I think digital in the future will continue, um, even into the AR, the augmented reality side of things, right? Where um, eventually, I think we'll have some kind of augmented reality headset that comes with our TVs or comes with an Amazon package. In the sense where now, as marketers, in a commercial break or like, watch our clip, put on your glasses, and now you're in our world. We can bring you more in there. I think that also goes with like the Facebook Meta thing, with that VR, that AR world that they're creating as well. I think that's a pretty cool way that digital marketing is going to continue, and that kind of leads into NFTs as well. That's a whole other side of where marketing is going, where it's almost like a marketing share of your product, allowing people to experience it firsthand from anywhere in the world. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, absolutely agree. So tell me about your experience as an entrepreneur and your first steps to promoting your products. Because as I mentioned, you have a clothing line and a children's book, which is so awesome. So I would like to hear about that.
Yeah. So for those traditional type of products, again, I looked at similar brands. What is it? SWOT analysis, right? So I kind of did that as well. That's kind of the basic start to my marketing plan. And then I see what comparables in brands and see what they're kind of doing, what's working, and kind of go from there. I always do whatever's free first in marketing, which is all your social media pages. That's all free. As many photos as I can take with my iPhone that looks professional enough, that's free. So I make sure I create as much content as I can without spending one penny. Then the next step would be um, back into our digital marketing side of things and then what I've been learning is with products is influencers uh, do sell product. I've tried that with a few t-shirts and it's been ridiculous. Like we did one where I was just giving out a free t-shirt. I found someone who's in the same genre, and I sent it to them and I said, hey, I'll send you one as well, but why don't we put a contest? They have to, we've all seen it, like our page, tag a friend, blah, blah, blah. And we had it for a week. I think my followers increased by 20%. It was like for a cost of a t-shirt, right? So it just shows that influencers are a very important part of marketing nowadays because we as consumers trust the people we follow. So yeah, that was the biggest thing where I was like, oh wow, this influencers, as much as maybe we hate them or we love them or we are annoyed by them, they do sell product. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing we talked about in one of our last podcast episodes was trusted voices and how influencers are the new, marketing machines, I'd
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So, tell me about investing in your marketing efforts to build your audience and gain further reach across new audiences. So, I guess that would be after using free tools and after incorporating influencers into your marketing plan.
Yeah, it's tough because when do you draw the line of spending too much without return? Knowing that even though you're not getting a direct return, if you're seeing more clicks, you're seeing more impressions, you're seeing people engagement increase, it's tough to put an exact value on that. So for independent marketing people like me, who's like, all right, well, I have a $25 shirt, how much like, and my profit margins are very small, so I have to figure out how much do I spend and how much do I have to get back. And there's no way, even at this level, that it's a one-to-one, right? Like if I spend $25 on marketing, that means I'm going to sell, I don't know what my whatever, like 5 shirts or whatever. Like it just doesn't, it hasn't lined up like that for me. And that's a specific target audience, someone who would exactly buy this shirt if they saw it. And it's still not one-to-one, but you also have to understand that some of that cost of marketing is, like we were saying, the impressions, the engagement level, that repetitive brand imaging that a billboard would do. Now we're showing it on your Instagram or your Facebook stories every single day, and you're like, oh, what I see, this is familiar. Why is this familiar, right? Like it's that whole tracking us, everything that we do and everything we like. So yeah, it's not one to one. It's really difficult to say when to stop your marketing campaign. Um, but yeah, brand image also is important.
How it works for me is if I see a product and I'm sort of interested, I might not buy it in the moment, but if I see it again, I might consider it. And if I see it again, I might consider it. And then if it's like the holidays, I'm like, okay, like gift to myself. Now it's time to buy it. So I guess repetitive marketing can work in that way too.
Yeah, 100%, right? And then adapting your marketing strategy, knowing that a consumer has seen it before. Okay, now if our second time running around, they're going to see it again, but how can we tweak it a little bit? Like even a call to action, right? That's like such a big thing when it comes to marketing, and even marketing yourself is call to action. Whether it's creating a poll or whether it's saying, the shirt you've been waiting for, right? Like, and then you're like, wait, I haven't kind of waited, not yet, right? Like you were exactly saying. So yeah, it's that struggle figuring that out.
Yeah, call to action is really important. Letting the consumer know what they should do with themselves or with the product. That's a really good point. It's something that is kind of unconscious, you know.
Yep, exactly.
So, what advice would you give to someone who wants to establish a professional profile across social media to market themselves?
Yeah, I would start off by first looking in the mirror and being like, who am I, and how do I want to come across? It's the same as any brand, right? Like if I make a shoe, is it a athletic shoe or is it a very casual chill shoe? You have to figure that out first, how you want to come across. And that can, as a human, you're obviously going to change a little bit more than a shoe. But um I would start with that, and then I would make sure that your content is always professional as possible. I would also say that if you do have great professional content and like you're kind of, it's a slow part of time of year, you don't have a lot going on, there's no reason to not bring some of that great content back again, because you have new people that haven't gone back and seen it. You have your supporters that probably started liking you because of that original great content, and then they're happy to see it again, like, oh yeah, I remember that, that's why I fell in love with you, or and not like in love, but that's why I follow you. So I hear a lot of people that reach out to me, they see my website or they see like my Instagram or Facebook or all that stuff. I don't really spend too much time on Twitter, but they always go, "Wow, you're always busy, Chris. You're always working. Everything looks so professional." Blah blah blah. I go, "Well, I'm not always busy and working. But by using content that either I've already had or I've used before without worrying about it, it always makes me look busy. I also have friends that go, "Yeah, I have nothing going on, man. Like, I don't know what to post." And I go, "Every day you get a new follower. Like, bring something back again." So, content is king, as we know, and I would just say continue to be steady with your posting, be professional, engage with comments, be humorous in a sense, have a sense of humor, and hopefully people dig what you're doing at that point.
Mhm. Yeah, as I mentioned in one of our previous podcast episodes where we spoke to an influencer, she talked about how her presence on TikTok was it brought an entirely new audience, and then she had to reintroduce herself and let people know that hey, I'm also on YouTube. Like my main platform is YouTube. So yeah, that definitely helps when you have new audiences. Like trying to reintroduce yourself and like hopefully even gain a bigger audience after that.
Exactly, and it's not like it's not a book on exactly how it works or how to do it or how to become viral or any of those things. But I think as long as you see what is working and what us as a consumer base is liking at the moment, then you'd be all right.
Yeah. So what has your experience been like gaining organic followers? Because if you engage with like different social platforms or like reply to comments or things like that, that's one way to gain organic followers.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's also hoping that people that you're with that are similar, whether it's actors or clothing makers or book writers or something like that, their interaction with you on social media can also lead to getting new fans that way because they're like, oh, I like him and they're friends, so maybe I like them too, right? So there's that as well. Um, Making sure, and like, I don't love doing this, but when we're out and we're doing things, and whether we're on a red carpet or just like a nice dinner with people in the industry, it's important to take photos and post them and put them up and tag people and have that shared in the sense that's an easy way to continue to build your brand. I also like whenever I meet someone who's seen some of my work or a fan or whatever, I always ask them for a picture so I can put it on my story and tag them because I know they're gonna reshare it. And like, most of the time they're like, oh, look at this movie star I ran into, or the star of whatever. And that always leads to me getting more of a fan base as well. Plus, I always find it's still crazy to me that people like are fans of my work, right? So that's
It's
always
good
cool.
work.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a hotel in Phoenix, some random Staybridge suites or whatever, and my parents were there first, and my parents brag about me all the time. It's embarrassing, right? And I came in, and they're like, "Oh, well, there's this girl that works in the morning. She loves horror movies, and she asked us if someone in the family was an actor because they knew your last name, and she literally saw the reservation for my last name, Levine, and was telling her manager that I think we have an actor going to stay with us. And they're like, nobody's staying in Staybridge, Phoenix. That's an actor. So I was like, oh, that's a real fan that recognized my name and everything.
Yeah, you're like, I'm a person too. I can stay in a Phoenix hotel if I want
Well, my parents used points, so I took it. I took it.
to. So I noticed that you like attend a lot of events, as you mentioned. What has your experience networking been like for you, and how do you grow your network?
Yeah. I was told a couple years ago that no one wants to eat at an empty restaurant. And since then, I've put a lot more effort into going out and showing up and being present at events like that. It could be the like a makeup thing for or a new salon even, right? But I still try to show up and like be present in the event and shake hands and take photos and be there. It's content to begin with, and then also a way to increase your fan base by, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, well, you can, yeah, I don't say this, but you could just Google me, and and then they go, oh my God, like I didn't know, an actor or writer was here. I'm working on stuff, collaboration. Most of the time, I would say that doesn't lead to anything. But it is a way to grow your fan base for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, let's go back to developing content because I know you do a lot on the film set. So, talk to me about like that process from beginning to end, getting content like on set versus after the film is already released, or maybe like during production in anticipation of the release kind of thing.
Yeah. Do you want to talk about more of me personally or like a film?
Well, let's do both because they're
Okay.
both different perspectives.
Yeah, I agree. So for a film, in the pre-production process, we'll figure out our marketing budget, or most of the time, lack there is. So we figure out what's important, right? So we want to make sure that we have money for our poster and our trailer, no matter what. When we're scrolling through the thousands of movies on, Netflix, Amazon, Hulu, the only thing that catches our attention is that little thumbnail image poster thing. So I always try to spend the most money on that, to make sure that's like someone from Disney designed it for us.
Mhm.
When I have the opportunity to tell people to do that. And then so that's the first step in our marketing plan. Second step is, okay, if we might have a DVD release, we're going to need commentary. We're going to need an EPK, which is an electronic press kit. It's kind of like just a digital press kit, I guess you could say, really. But it's content while we're on set. So we'll hire a behind the scenes photographer that gets all of those great images of like right before action, and like the director working with the actor and stuff like that. It's always great stuff to have, not only for whoever's in that photo, right? That goes down to your personal content, but also hyping people up for the movie. Even when it's released now, once it's been released, now people kind of want to see how it was made, like what tricks and tips that they can, whether a filmmaker or not, they kind of want to know. So those kind of fun things are great to have. So yeah, whether it's photos behind the scenes, our posters, our trailer, um, we always set up time for interviews. Depends on the photo, on the shoot schedule. If there's downtime, then while we're on set, we'll just have someone post up and talk. If not, most of the time it's in their contracts that, hey, we're gonna need you to come in so we can interview you, talk about your experience, um, and then kind of the final process of that is the red carpet premiere. And it's partly a thank you to the cast and crew, but at also the same time we do hire Getty photographers, so that it shows like there's a like a footprint, a thumbprint in the world, in the space, that this movie had a screening at this time. It's in Getty forever. So that's also part of that branding. And again, it all ties into every photo that they take of you. That's your own content to continue your branding, especially if it says Getty on it. Those are the only ones I share at events, because it just shows kind of a professionalism. Like, hey, they showed up to the event wasn't just like a piece of crap, right? It was at least decent enough to have that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when the movie's being released, now are those times where I copy studio films and their marketing ideas, whether it's the way they engage on social media, whether it's just the artistic design of their reels, their videos, their TikToks, things like that. And then also leading into sending the movie to influencers before it's out as like a private screener. Hey, if you love it, say something, even if it's in your story, we're okay with it. If you hate it, maybe not, depending on the hate involved. Sometimes hate brings people too, right? Um, and then yeah, and then the movie's released, and then maybe we'll do some behind the scenes photos, to continue a little bit of the marketing plan, but then it just dissolves on to the next one.
Yeah, and then you can celebrate the final product, which is the epiphany of all marketers is having a final product done and like knowing how to do the next one better sometimes.
Yeah, always learning and growing and figuring out the best way to spend money, because as marketers, right, we're always limited in our budget,
Hmm.
like always. So we could always use more. So it's nice to learn the most efficient ways.
Absolutely. So, lastly, just what are some of your goals for continuing to build your professional profile and see your audience grow over time, or also like helping your products like bring new audiences to the products that you have.
Yeah, I think my product lines will continue to grow as I grow as a name. Um, it's like Ryan Reynolds is the perfect example of that with Mint Mobile and all those other things that he does, buying a football team. um, it's because of him that we're even interested in those things. So I look at that as my children's books, my horror clothing line, those kind of things. While they'll find their own audiences through my marketing techniques, I also think that as my name grows and people want to support me, then they'll go out and buy those products anyways because of me, right? So I think it all kind of goes hand in hand with that. Um, in 2023, I plan on, I don't know, I'm like on this crossroad of social media marketing for myself. If I want to push more and show more of myself, or do I want to continue this kind of maybe once a week, if that stay in the shadows a little bit more. It's a constant battle because I think there's some toxicity in social media in your daily life, and I do my best to stay away from that. But at the same time, it's like I know that there are sometimes questions where if I may be the better actor, but if there's a decent actor that has 100,000 followers and I only have 10,000, they're probably going to get the job. So I'm well aware of that aspect in our day to day as filmmakers and actors right now. At least at the level that I'm at, where that matters. So yeah, that there's some tough marketing decisions for me personally coming up in the next year, and but I'm looking forward to the challenge, I guess.
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, we wish you all the best of luck, and I thank you so much for joining me today. If you'd like to learn a lot more about Chris, you can look at his information below this video, including his portfolio and social media platforms, and also his product lines. It was a pleasure to have you, and just thanks so much for being here with me today.